It was supposed to be just another quiet night, the kind where the world slowed down, where the streetlights hummed softly and the wind whispered through the trees. But for 19-year-old Maya Brooks, this night would mark the beginning of something far more sinister. She had been walking home from her late-night shift at the diner, her footsteps echoing down the empty sidewalk. The air smelled of damp earth, the remnants of a passing storm still lingering in the breeze. Just as she turned onto her street, a thick plume of black smoke spiraled into the sky. Her heart clenched. At the end of the block, an old Victorian house stood engulfed in flames, its windows glowing like the eyes of some monstrous entity. A desperate, hacking cough reached her ears. Someone was inside. Without a second thought, Maya sprinted toward the burning house. The heat was suffocating, the crackling of flames deafening. "Hello?" she shouted, shielding her face from the heat. A faint voice rasped from inside. "Help? Me?" The front door was half open, revealing a hallway choked with smoke. Maya hesitated only for a second before rushing in. The walls groaned as fire devoured them, embers raining from the ceiling like falling stars. Her lungs burned, but she pushed forward. Then she saw him. An old man lay sprawled on the floor, his frail body curled in on itself as flames licked dangerously close. His skin was pale, too pale, and his eyes, when they met hers, were an unsettling shade of gray. Maya wasted no time. She grabbed him under the arms and dragged him toward the exit. The moment they crossed the threshold, the house collapsed behind them in a shower of embers and splintered wood. She fell to her knees, coughing violently, the old man still clutched in her arms. Neighbors gathered, whispering, staring. But Maya wasn't listening. She was staring at the man, at the way he didn't seem to be breathing, yet he was watching her. And then he smiled. It was not a smile of gratitude. It was something else. Something wrong. Maya didn't sleep that night. She couldn't shake the feeling that something about the old man was off. She had given her statement to the firefighters, but strangely, no one could find any records of the man's identity. "Probably just an old recluse," her best friend Jordan had said when she called him later that night. "You did a good thing, Maya." But did she? The thought nagged at her as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Just as she began to drift off, a noise from outside snapped her awake. A slow, deliberate knock on her front door. Maya sat up, her heart hammering. She crept toward the window and peered out. Her breath hitched. The old man stood on her porch. He wasn't alone. Shadows stretched unnaturally around him, tendrils of darkness writhing at his feet. His face, now fully illuminated by the street lamp, was not the same as before. His skin had taken on a grayish hue, his eyes sunken and hollow. Maya stumbled backward, covering her mouth to stifle a scream. The knocking came again, louder, more insistent. And then, a voice, smooth as silk, yet laced with something ancient. "You saved me, child. Now let me in." Maya's body refused to move. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but where? The knocking ceased. Silence stretched unbearably. She dared another glance out the window. The old man was gone, but the shadows? They lingered. The next morning, Maya tried to convince herself it had been a nightmare. But when she stepped outside, a chill ran down her spine. Scratched into her front door, deep and jagged, were the words, "I am owed a debt." She staggered back, her breathing uneven. No, this wasn't happening. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from Jordan. "Hey, weird question. I had this nightmare about some old guy. He was standing outside my house last night. Said you brought him back." "What the hell does that mean?" Maya's stomach dropped. Before she could respond, another message came in. "Wait, someone's knocking on my door." "Maya, what did you do?" A cold dread curled around her ribs, because she already knew. She hadn't just saved a man from a fire, she had let something out. And now... It wanted her soul. Maya's hands trembled as she stared at Jordan's last message. Someone's knocking on my door. Maya, what did you do? Her pulse pounded in her ears. She quickly typed back. Jordan, do not open the door. Call me, now. She waited, her phone gripped so tightly her knuckles ached. No response. Seconds stretched into an unbearable eternity. Then, finally, her phone buzzed. But it wasn't a call. It was another message. He's inside. Maya's breath hitched. She dialed Jordan's number, her fingers slick with sweat. It rang once, twice. Then, a sharp, wet gurgling sound came through the speaker, a sickening crunch, and then, silence. Maya clapped a hand over her mouth, her whole body trembling. A rustling noise came from the other end of the call, not Jordan's voice, something else. A low, rasping breath. Then, in that smooth, ancient voice, the old man spoke. You cannot run from a debt, child. His soul was a start, but I want what is mine. The call ended. Maya felt the walls of her world collapse around her. Jordan was gone, and she was next. Maya grabbed her car keys and bolted out the front door. The morning sun was rising, but it did nothing to push back the creeping shadows that seemed to slither at the edges of her vision. She fumbled into her car, locking the doors as she started the engine. Her breaths came in ragged gasps. She had to get out of town. As she sped down the road, her mind raced. The old man, no, the thing she had saved, wasn't human, and it was after her. Her phone rang, making her jump. She nearly swerved off the road. Jordan's name flashed on the screen. Number that wasn't possible. Hands shaking, she answered. J. Jordan? She whispered. Silence. Then his voice, soft, distorted. Maya, why did you leave me? She nearly dropped the phone. That voice, it sounded like Jordan, but wrong. Maya, he said again. He says you can still fix this. You just have to come back. A cold dread settled in her bones. Her best friend was dead, and now his voice was being used like a puppet's. No, she whispered. The voice on the other end let out a sigh. Then I'll see you soon. The call ended. Maya pressed harder on the gas. She needed help. She drove for hours, heading straight for the only person she thought could help, her grandmother. Nana Rose had always been a little strange. She spoke of spirits and dark things that lurked beyond the veil of the living. When Maya was a child, Nana would warn her about the dangers of making deals with the unseen. Maya had never believed in those stories. Now, she wished she had. When she finally pulled up to her grandmother's house, she ran inside without knocking. Nana, she cried. The old woman was already waiting for her, seated in her wooden rocking chair. Her sharp, aged eyes locked onto Maya. You brought something terrible into this world, child, Nana Rose murmured. Didn't you? Maya swallowed hard. I saved him from a fire. Nana Rose let out a slow breath. That thing wasn't supposed to leave. A chill ran through Maya. What do you mean? Her grandmother's expression darkened. The house you pulled him from wasn't a home, Maya. It was a prison. Maya's stomach twisted. You don't understand. He killed Jordan. I do understand, Nana interrupted. And if we don't act now, he will take you next. Maya's knees felt weak. How do I stop him? Nana Rose stood and reached for a wooden box on the shelf. When she opened it, Maya's breath caught. Inside was an old, brittle piece of parchment covered in strange symbols. This, Nana said, is the only way to send him back. Maya stared at it. What do I have to do? Nana Rose met her gaze. You have to lure him. The words sent an icy dagger through Maya's chest. She had to face him. That night, Maya and Nana Rose prepared for the ritual. Candles were placed in a circle in the backyard, surrounding a sigil drawn in salt and blood. Maya's hands shook as she stepped into the center of the circle. He will come for you, Nana Rose warned, but do not leave the circle, no matter what you see or hear. Maya nodded, fear clawing at her throat. Then, as the clock struck midnight, the air shifted. A cold gust of wind howled through the trees. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting and writhing like living things. And then, he was there. The old man emerged from the darkness, his body flickering like a dying flame. His skin no longer looked human. It was cracked like ancient stone, and his eyes, those soulless, hungry pits, fixed on Maya. "You cannot run," he whispered. His voice slithered into her ears. Maya's breath hitched, but she held her ground. He stepped closer, but the moment his foot touched the salt, the air sizzled. He recoiled, his expression twisting in rage. "You dare try to bind me?" he hissed. Nana Rose's voice rang out, strong and commanding. She began to chant in a language Maya didn't understand. The old man screamed. His form wavered, flickering violently. The shadows around them shrieked, writhing as if in agony. Maya clamped her hands over her ears as the entity lunged at her, and then, in a blinding flash of light, he was gone. The night fell silent. Maya gasped, falling to her knees. It was over, or so she thought. Days passed. The nightmares lingered, but the presence was gone. One evening, Maya stood on her grandmother's porch, staring out at the darkened sky. She should have felt safe, but she didn't. A breeze rustled the trees. The wind whispered through the air, curling around her like a phantom's breath. And then, so soft she almost missed it, a voice, right behind her ear. "A debt can never be erased, child, only postponed." Maya spun around, but there was nothing there, just shadows, waiting, watching. The end.